In Excel, there's a category of formulas, sometimes referred to as array formulas. And there are also some special functions that fall under the heading of array functions. However, if you're on the Formulas tab and you're checking out some of the many functions, it's highly unlikely you'll encounter this term. Now, you may encounter a particular function and it is described as an array function, but you probably are not looking for functions based on that concept or that word or phrase. An array formula is extremely powerful, and so are the array functions. And they're difficult to describe except by way of example. And what they typically involve is the ability to handle large amounts of information across parallel sets of data, maybe a parallel set of rows, parallel set of columns. That's not exactly a definition, but let's start with a simple example here in this worksheet where in columns B and column C, we've got some items being sold. Here's the units sold, the unit price, and simple little formula here to calculate the total. And at the bottom, we're adding up all these. Now, we probably want that information, but there certainly can be times when, and it could be with a larger list, smaller list, doesn't make any difference. What if we simply wanted to take all of this data here, times all of this data, and come up with the answer without those interim totals? We might need that at different times. I'm going to write a formula here that looks as if it might work, but as we try this, and notice what I'm about to do here is a little bit unusual. I'm going to be highlighting all of these cells here. That's the units sold times the unit price. And I'll press enter and be disappointed because it doesn't work. And you wouldn't expect that to work based on the way you learn how to use formulas in Excel. Excel can't really do that sort of thing. But it can if, and this sounds like I'm making it up, if you press Control-Shift-Enter. It's as if you're sending a signal to Excel to say, let's do multiply B2 by C2, and then B3 times C3. Keep doing that all the way down the two columns, and then add them all up. So I'm going to press Control-Shift-Enter, and there's an answer. And you'll recognize that it's the same answer we got here by adding up the interim totals. The difference, of course, is a formatting difference, and with the right mouse button, I could simply drag this down here with the right mouse button and copy here as formats only. Now, something else about this. With this being the active cell, look in the formula bar. I didn't type any braces. How did they get there? They are there. If you click there to edit the cell, they disappear. Similarly, if you double-click, as I'm about to do in Excel D13, you don't see the braces either. So what's going on here? It sounds like I'm making this up practically, doesn't it? I will press Control-Shift-Enter, which you could say triggers the capability of doing what we want to do here. Now, again, we're not quite defining this because it's hard to do that, but now the action is complete and it does work. The more of these you see, the more you begin to understand how they work. Let's take a look at another situation in columns F, G, and H. We've got a bunch of order dates, and maybe the product that this company provides requires a substantial amount of assembly and then packaging before shipping. And it takes a number of days. We've got formulas in column H that simply subtract the two dates to indicate how much time has elapsed between ordering and shipping. And we'd like to know what the average amount of the time is. Now, I could write a simple average function right here, make it a little bit faster on the Home tab. I'll use the drop arrow to the right of AutoSum, choose average, and looks like it's all set there, and I'll press enter. And it's 17.67, 17 2/3. Now, what if we really don't need the interim information? We simply want to know the average elapsed time. So, like our previous example, we're going to be typing here, equal average, left parenthesis, and we want to take all of the shipping dates minus all of the order dates, similar to what we had done with columns B and C. And here too, if we simply press enter, we do not get an answer that makes any sense. In fact, it's incorrect. But as I double click, as we look at this again, everything will change if I press Control-Shift-Enter. And we do have a correct answer. And as you look in the formula bar, you see those braces again, which I did not type. Remember, all I did is press Control-Shift-Enter. So we're seeing some examples of here of how we're handling data in what you might call a parallel fashion. And that's often the case with these kinds of formulas. Here's another example over here where we've got some data and we've got some duplicates in this list. There are 2 Brian Lyons there and perhaps some others in this list, 2 Jessica Wilsons. Now, if we've got duplicates here, not just the names, let's look to the right here. Looks like we've got, same kind of building. They're in the same building, same social security number, same phone number. Those are duplicates. Now, we might have people with the same name here, but we need to be checking this. Now, Excel does have a great tool for getting rid of these. In fact, the data doesn't even have to be sorted, as it could be here. It might not be. But we don't even have the data in any particular order. We could get rid of the duplicates by way of the Data tab and a feature that was introduced in 2007 called Remove Duplicates. And that's all well and good. But what if you want to identify which records have been sorted? Let's just click here in column K and do an AZ sort to make sure we've got any of those double names when they occur that they're together. So we see a Thomas Allen right there too. Okay, now here's what we might want to do. If we'd like to identify where these are the same, we can use the if function along with and to start comparing these. And if we start this equal if, we'll use the and function and say the following. When this cell is equal to the cell above it, and this cell is equal to the cell above it, and this cell is equal to the cell above it, one more time here, comma, and this is equal to this. For this to be foolproof, ideally we do this all the way over into column T in this example here. But we really don't want to finish this. What I will do here is say, let's imagine that we did, and had we done that, we'd have a right parenthesis in here, comma, and then we would put in, for example, if all those are the same, then this is a duplicate. Put in dupe. And if it's not, it's a unique record, that sort of thing. And that would work just fine. But imagine how large that would really be if we had to extend that all the way across into column T. Now I'm going to do it a different way. And to get started, I'll just copy this and then make a change to it. What if we were to say, and we've already identified as we scroll rightward here, that we need to do this out to column T if we truly are going to check every single cell. Let's make a change here and say, if K4 colon T4 equals K3 colon T3. And then let's get rid of all the rest of this here. And it looks like I made one tiny mistake over here of K3. There we go. If K4, there it is. If K4 colon T4, in other words, let's look at all the entries in row 4, comparing them with all of the entries in row 3. Now, if I press Control, first of all, if I press Enter, we don't get a sensible answer. But double-clicking to re-edit and then simply pressing Control-Shift-Enter, we will get an answer. And as we double-click, copy this downward, it found, for example, a duplicate right here. Now, when we press Control-tilde, we can see these functions being displayed side by side as we look in rows 3 and 4 here. And I didn't even complete the entry in J3 here. So you can imagine how wide that would be if we went all the way out to column T. But the array formula here gets the job done in a much more compact way. And it does help us identify those duplicate entries that we have here. So you can begin to see, as you look at some of these examples here, how these array formulas work. The more examples you see, the more these start to fall into place. But they're tremendously powerful, and as we'll see in upcoming movies, there are other ways to use these features to get to capabilities that we can't get to with other kinds of formulas and functions.